Welcome to Designing Success from Study to Studio. I'm your host, Rhiannon Lee, founder of the Oleander and Finch Design Studio. I've lived the transformation from study to studio and then stripped it bare and wrote down the framework so you don't have to overthink it. In this podcast, you could expect real talk with industry friends, community, connection, and actionable tips to help you conquer whatever's holding you back. Now let's get designing your own success. I was chatting to a friend on Instagram just today. I announced on my stories that this is going to be my topic for the podcast this week. And she messaged me straight away and said, oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to your take on this so much. There's so much noise at the moment around what we should all be doing on socials, particularly Instagram. And of course, it's all conflicting. I read two posts, one on top of each other today, one telling me authenticity is dead and I need to be posting content that provides aspiration. And then the next one told me not to strive for aspiration. This is messages that we were messaging back and forth today. She's also an interior designer, and I think it's really important to say this out loud. I think this is hopefully a helpful episode for you because I am not speaking to strategy. I'm not going to tell you what to post necessarily or plan out your change in Instagram. They feel like interior designers are still trying to crack the wrong thing. Everyone is obsessed with the algorithm, what time to post, what hook to use, what trending sound to jump on. And I've just learned something recently that honestly made me sit back and go, yes, that's exactly why everything feels different on Instagram this year. Instagram has had a big shift since AI entered the conversation, and I feel like so many people haven't shifted with it. Instagram used to reward us for activity, and now it rewards understanding. Interior designers previously were taught post frequency matters, mix it up, like your content pillars are king, don't repeat yourself, keep it fresh. Hell, I've even taught this stuff in my own marketing workshops in the past because it was sound advice, it was working until it wasn't. In 2026, we're not trying to get in front of the algorithm anymore. It's not an attention whore kind of landscape. That's not how Instagram operates now. Instagram is AI-led, and AI doesn't behave like an algorithm that we can outsmart. It doesn't reward trending audios, trends, funny shares that don't relate to your intention or your audience. It's scraping your profile for keywords and looking for patterns. It's watching to see if what you're putting out is being caught, received, and resonating with the people that you're talking to or that you say you're trying to talk to. It just wants to understand what your ideal client is like so it can try to share your content with them, a bit like Pinterest, how it's like an SEO platform, and not randomly just show your content to heaps of people who are, an example, they're ice fishing enthusiasts from Finland. Not really helpful to Sarah, the interior designer from the Gold Coast, right? And what she's posting. So it used to focus on reach and just share it everywhere. And now it's much more intentional. And that part really resonated with me. Like I'd heard that and went, oh yeah, that's a shift. Like I feel that, I can see that. So if you're posting something and it's not being caught, meaning people stop and it catches attention. If it's not being received, meaning that they engage, they reply, save, send it to a friend. And if it's not resonant, meaning that it actually lands with the right person, Instagram has a big old sulk about it and won't push it harder next time. So, okay, fine, not going to do that. It kind of learns that you're not a strong signal for that topic. You're not the expert or it might not be your jam. So your content might have actually been good, but the message that Instagram heard about who should see it wasn't clear enough. So that's what keywords do. They give Instagram the message about this is what I'm an expert in, this is what I do, and this is who I'm for. And I think that's where designers are mostly getting tripped up. Because we're really visual thinkers, we're entrepreneurial, we like variety, we get bored easy, we secretly think repeating ourselves is a bit lazy. I've always struggled to get interior designers to repurpose their gorgeous work and use their content time and time again. So instead we post a mood board one day, a site photo the next day, a random business thought, a meme or a quote about how hard it is being an interior designer, which is not really relatable for our clients, right? Like they don't want to hear you moan about your business, I guess. A personal story, you might share something about being at the cafe, at the gym, or a trend. I'm looking at you, caricature made by ChatGPT this week. Everyone's got one. Or like a rant about suppliers or logistics. And then we wonder why nothing sticks. why the algorithm feels hard or why we feel like we're not being heard. Everything is so noisy. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not showing up. I'm not getting, I might get a couple of likes. 23 likes is less likes than the minutes it took for me to create the content. Am I right? From an AI point of view, something with all of those different things, like the mood boards, the rant, the personal story, the meme, all of those things, if a robot shows up to view that, that feed doesn't say anything coherent. It doesn't tell a story. It doesn't build trust. The robot just can't get a handle on what you're trying to say. What is your specialty subject? Who are you? What are you doing? How you're currently performing is just not training the system or the robot who you're for. And that's a really big shift, because before the algorithm could just share with more and more people and learn from their engagement behaviors. But now Instagram isn't asking how clever is this, it's asking who is this content for, and do they consistently respond positively when this person speaks? Do they get consistent responses from their audience when this person speaks about this topic? In 2026, you'll hear me keep saying you don't need more ideas. You just need the courage to repeat the right ones long enough for them to sort of compound, for people to understand that is your area of expertise. I'm not joking, because if you're feeling tired of saying the same thing again and again, congratulations. That's usually the moment the platform is finally starting to understand you. Trust me on this, I do not want to talk about the framework every 5 to 8 minutes and every single day of my life, but I will do it if it helps to get the people it really is intended to help on board. If one designer stuck and ready to systemize, scale, embrace AI finds this course because I've marketed it correctly and I've showed up talking about the framework over and over, well, that's 100% worth it, right? Designers ask me all the time, oh my God, when people get sick of me just sharing the same similar stuff? And the answer is no. The right people are just starting to hear you. And if they find you, they're like, oh my God, she has the most incredible designs in this niche, or I found this, I'm in the exact right place of the internet because I've just arrived on this girl's feed and it is giving. Like, I'm loving every single one of the squares on this feed as I look through, or I can tell that she has a approach that's sustainable or focuses on low tox or is neurodivergent friendly. And I can see that straight away when I got here. So I know I'm in the right place. So if you've been trying to crack Instagram like it's this secret code, I just want you to soften that grip a bit this year and give yourself some grace. Don't aim to go viral, beat the algorithm. Algorithm doesn't matter anymore. Algorithm is dead. 2026 Instagram is not about outsmarting anything. It's about being wildly specific and saying one thing in 10 ways instead of 10 things once. Just going to say that again. It's really about saying one core important thing in 10 different ways to showcase that that is the thing that you excel at, than doing 10 things once when they don't land. Try something else. Think about that 10 times. Wouldn't my efforts have been so much more rewarded and so much more important if I had found 10 different ways to talk about why I wholeheartedly believe there is space for AI in creative businesses? So right now, Instagram is moving away from rewarding clutter and noise, thank God, and moving into its era of rewarding the actual content signals that it sees the audience catch, receive, and resonate with. So the exciting part is that's a game that you can actually win. Once you understand it, you can anticipate what the robot is looking for. And that is everything. This year, Instagram isn't deciding if you're popular or talented, actually deciding if you're understandable. It just needs a robot that goes, oh yeah, she's for these guys, and matches the two of you together. When someone hits your profile, the AI is asking, can I confidently show this person to more people like them? So it's all about training the robots now because they're watching. It then answers that question by scanning patterns in previous content and previous behavior. It wants to know your topics, language, themes, repetition. It's a great learner. It's not about inspiration images or a quote tile with a picture of orca whales behind it that has absolutely no relevance to your ideal client or what you do on a day-to-day basis. And this is where I see so many designers accidentally sabotage themselves. The grid looks like a digital scrapboard. Like, it's beautiful, it's emotional, interesting, inspiring, but completely unclear at first view whether you own all those houses or like, do you just like Pinterest? Do you want to be a designer? Like, maybe you're just a design adjacent or into interior design, or are you one? One post says luxury, the next one says budget tips, best IKEA finds, or how to style a shelf. Then there's a personal rant and a like site photo with no context whatsoever. Or then you reshare someone else's work or build a color palette and then share it to your feed. There's nothing there for the system to latch onto. Like, the robots are going to find that, and they, from the outside, it's just too hard for them to tell, what are you known for? Who should follow you? And why should I stay? Actually, those are really great topics to answer and pin to the top 3 places on your Instagram grid or feed. I think I might change mine to that myself. Like, how good if someone just arrives on your feed and the very top thing is like who I'm for, why I'm different, why you should stay here. I would love that. And it's very concise. So for me, when I really sat with this new approach behind the scenes of Instagram, the thing that surprised me the most, I think, was just recognizing that Instagram is no longer optimizing reach first. So it's not just a numbers game of going, yep, we're going to send this reel to all these people and see what happens. It's optimizing for depth. So that's giving quality over quantity. So it doesn't really care that you show up. It would rather show your content to fewer people who consistently respond positively than spray it out to the whole internet and see what sticks. Which means if your content is being caught by the wrong people or received vaguely or resonating inconsistently, that gets noted on your Instagram robot report card. And it's not supposed to be a punishment, and there's no such thing as being shadow banned. Oh my gosh, I want to insert my eye rolls here because, sorry, Sally, it's more likely that your content has just been a bit shit lately. You're not actually shadow banned. No one's trying to punish you. That's not really a thing, and it never really has been. It means that the content that you put out just didn't scratch the algorithm's fancy. It wasn't really that good, or it wasn't targeted. And that's totally okay. But if it does get noted as not cutting through, Instagram is tracking that data and behaving with that in mind. Like, it's not going to continue to put paid spend behind effectively. If you think about it like that, it's organic marketing, but like, not going to continue to promote that if it's not resonating with your audience. So AI is now scraping all of your content to see what keywords you use, and that will help it find your core audience. It does not want your hashtags. Please stop. They are dead. We have gone back and forth on this for the last 4 years. Do we use them? Do we not use them? Sure, use them if you want to make your point, but that we no longer search by hashtags, right? So they're not really working for you. And the big dump of SEO terms at the end of your caption, the robot knows you did that. Okay, so it wants organic, natural topics that you talk about time and time again. When I say it's scraping for keywords, this is exactly what I mean by that. And it's more simple than you think. It's just all the actual words you repeat in your content, all of the problems you name again and again and again, the situations that you describe, and the way your ideal client hears themselves in your content. Those are all of your keywords. Like, if you could pause this podcast right now, open a note section in your phone and literally brain dump all the words that you feel like you're repeating all of the time: strategy, scaling, systems, processes, SOPs, large language model, AI, solutions, custom bots, GPTs, content, copy. Like, I could go on and on and on. Like, if I'm brainstorming that in the notes on my phone, that's talking a lot to the actual words I repeat a lot in my content. Proposal generator, one-click schedules, and then all of the problems you name again and again. You're doing things too hard. You're overcomplicating your business. There are automations available to you. Like, I would just brain dump all of this. And then the situations that you describe, or the way your ideal client hears themselves in your content. So you would talk about sitting in your car and using Penelope, the proposal generator, and you've just had the in-home consult and you've uploaded the transcript, put it into Penelope, and that proposal writes itself while you drive 10 minutes home, and it's all done and dusted. Like, those, your ideal client, my ideal client, if you're listening at interior designers, you absolutely just heard yourself in that content, because you were like, hell to the yes, I want Penelope that writes my proposals in 10 minutes while I drive home. she is 100% an option for you. You can head to my website, www.oleanderandfinch.com. I'll put a link in the show notes here, and you can go in and check out Penelope. And if you don't have her in your business, why not? Because I, for one, am all about not spending 3 days writing proposals any longer. There's no need. We don't need to carry on. You're better off spending that time on your pricing strategy and making sure the proposal that you send is confidently and correctly priced than mucking around writing the client briefs and the terms and conditions and stuff. Anyway, got off topic, but you see, if you do open your notes in your phone and do a little brainstorming around your keywords, you could do it very naturally and simply just by thinking about the actual words you repeat, all of the problems you name again and again, situations you describe, and the way your ideal client hears themselves in your content. That is exactly what trains the system in 2026. It's worth the time. It's definitely worth the time. Pause me right now, but please do come back because I've got some more to say. Because AI is scraping for keyword, this is exactly why the mix it up advice is totally outdated for 2026. Or worse advice, like show up daily. We've all heard all the gurus. I started this podcast just saying, we know everyone's screaming about Instagram has changed. We can feel that, right? If you use Instagram, you can feel it's so different to how you used it during lockdowns or how you used it in the past. It's not the same social media app that it used to be. I have already talked about this year, and I'm only in episode 2 of the podcast for this year, but I noticed a shift with some of the big course creators. I've noticed a shift towards a lot more political content, a lot more people being authentic and speaking about their opinions. And it's because they know this stuff that I'm teaching you today. It's because they know in 2026, we are only bringing our good content, not filler content, energy to the table. In 2026, depth is winning. We have to know your topic so well that the robots recognize you as the expert in that topic from space. Consistency is great. It always is. It always will be. I couldn't care less if you show up once a week. If that one post gets directly to your potential client, then it's worth more than 16 vague show ups anyway, right? What do they say? If you confuse, you lose. Like simple sells, clear lanes win the game. Like you just be very clear in the topic and why you're an expert. Instagram doesn't just want to box you in, but it does need to place you somewhere. So it's not about niching or only doing one kind of thing. It's not intentionally trying to limit you, but it has to categorize you. So it needs to be able to recognize those keywords and say automatically, oh yeah, she's for this kind of client. And I keep coming back to this question as my sanity check for if I'm actually matching those changes in the behind the scenes of Instagram and how it behaves now and whether I'm doing it properly. And I'll share it here in case it helps you keep on track too. It's the one question I'm also asking designers in private coaching all the time. If I look at your last 9 or 12 posts on your Instagram feed or grid, would I immediately know what you're an expert in, who you're speaking to, and why you're different from the next designer? And if the answer is kind of or maybe, that's the gap we want to fill this year. And now we know the fix isn't more wishy-washy content. It's fewer ideas said way more clearly this year. And side note, this is also why posting whatever feels right doesn't really work anymore. Feeling-led content is fine if it's like wildly on topic, but unstructured content is really confusing for the robots. AI doesn't fall in love with potential or past projects or shiny new ideas. It follows patterns. So you need to be reliable and repeatable. So if Instagram has been feeling harder since you've been back to work this year, you're not imagining it. The update from algorithms to AI-led backend has not actually been that widely communicated from Instagram, I feel. So from now on, the platform will reward people who are brave enough to be obvious about their point of view, obvious about their niche, obvious about exactly what they stand for. And I'm totally here for it. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Rhiannon Lee. I help creative business owners, especially interior designers, make sense of AI and integrate it into their businesses in a way that supports how you already work. You still get to run a studio with your own taste and judgment and human brain. I just help you layer in the automations and robot energy where it actually helps, like all the boring admin parts. So stick around. I can't wait to share more AI tips and hints with you in 2026. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a like, make a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you thought. Do you agree? Maybe you don't agree. Maybe you're all about the algorithm and you want to show up every day still, or you don't want to make a shift, or you haven't seen a shift. Start the conversation, drop in the comments below. Come and follow me over on Instagram at oleander_and_finch, and I will see you next week for Designing Success. Bye for now. That wraps up another episode of Designing Success from Study to Studio. Thanks for lending me your ears. Remember, progress over perfection is the key. If you found value in today's episode, go ahead and hit subscribe or share it with a friend. Your feedback means so much to me and it helps me improve, but it also helps this podcast reach more emerging and evolving designers just like you. For your daily dose of design business tips and to get a closer look at what goes on behind the scenes, follow at oleander_and_finch on Instagram. You'll find tons of resources available at www.oleanderandfinch.com to support you on your journey. Remember, this is your path, your vision, your future, and your business. Now let's get out there and start designing your success.